cloaked in shadow, silent in soul. The comforting scent of fresh bread from an oven, such relics of the past, only served as a reminder of all that they had lost. A world that was, a world that could have been, but there was no room for sentimentality in their existence. It was the faintest of whispers, like the rustle of a leaf, yet it carried a melody that resonated within their soul, stirring echoes of a forgotten song. Nature, it seemed, was reclaiming what was once lost, determined to heal the wounds of a broken world. Vines crept up crumbling walls, reclaiming stone by stone. These spectral remnants clung to the stones like moss, weaving a shroud of nostalgia around the decaying grandeur. As the figure traced the faded ink, stories unfolded, tales of lives lived and loved, dreams shared and futures planned. The figure's touch sent shivers down the spectral spines of the residents, their forms solidifying, their voices echoing, reaching out from the abyss of oblivion. The figure, cloaked in shadow and silence, became the conduit through which the echoes of the past flowed. Through these spectral records, faces emerged, etched not in stone, and how would they navigate the treacherous path ahead, balancing the burden of the past with the promise of a dawning future, a newfound resolve in their bearing. The silence that had defined them was no longer empty, a sense of purpose radiated from them, steady and unwavering. The vow that had bound them to a life of solitude and remembrance now had a new resonance. It was a vow to be the custodian of the echoes, to carry the laughter and tears of the past into the uncertain future. It resonated with the echoes of laughter, whispered conversations and the faint strains of music. It was a symphony of remembrance. Flowers pushed through cracks in the stone, vines wove tapestries of emerald, and birdsong filled the air, chasing away the lingering gloom. Cloaked in shadows, stepped out of the tomb and into the fading light. The remnants of the dying world stretched before them, a panorama of desolation and decay. Yet there was a shift in their bearing, a subtle change that hinted at the profound impact of their journey into the heart of remembrance. As the final rays of twilight painted the sky in hues of farewell, the figure emerged from the tomb, forever changed. But in the very fabric of existence, their smiles, tears, hopes, and fears woven into the tapestry of time. The abyss had receded, replaced by a glimmer of something akin to peace, whether clenched into fists or resting loosely at their sides. There was a quiet power, the strength of one who had stared into the abyss and emerged with a renewed sense of mission. There was no turning back. The path ahead, though veiled in uncertainty, was illuminated by the flickering flames of hope rekindled. The shadows that had been their constant companions seemed to have lifted slightly, revealing a glimpse of the humanity that still flickered within. The figure was still cloaked in shadow, but the edges of those shadows were softer, less absolute. The dying world, once shrouded in impenetrable darkness, now bore the first tentative blossoms of hope. For the figure had discovered that even in the deepest shadows, the human spirit could endure, could love, could hope, and most importantly, could remember. It was here, in the hallowed halls of memory, that the figure's resolve was tested, their silence challenged. But a beginning born from the ashes of a dying world, cloaked in shadows, yet touched by the warmth of remembrance. They carried the weight of a world's memories, but also the promise of its resurrection, for they were the last ember in a dying world. Wildflowers bloomed defiantly in the cracks of the pavement, painting splashes of color on a canvas of gray. It was a summons, a call that transcended the boundaries of space and time, moving through the decaying world as if drawn by an invisible thread. Their steps echoed with purpose, their movements fluid and precise, betraying years of disciplined training. Before them stood the remnants of a grand structure, its architecture a testament to a bygone era. But what truly held their gaze was the presence that permeated the ruins, a palpable weight of sorrow and loss. This was no ordinary place. It was a tomb, a mausoleum of memories. Each stride brought them closer to the source of the calling, weaving a tapestry of mystery and intrigue. Was it a whisper of hope in the face of despair, or a siren's call leading to oblivion? Only the figure cloaked in shadow and silence knew. The figure turned, their shadowed face unreadable, their eyes twin pools of darkness, searching the horizon. It was a place where dreams went to die and hope withered like a forgotten flower. Yet amidst this desolate landscape, a solitary figure moved. These memories were as distant to them as stars in a black sky. Their skin was as pale as moonlight on snow, their eyes as dark as the abyss, reflecting a sorrow that seemed to echo the dying world's own. Every step they took was as soundless as falling leaves, every movement as graceful and deadly as a phantom's embrace. They were a spectre haunting the ruins of a fallen world, cold and unreachable. They had walked this path, guided by a vow as old and unwavering as the darkness that shrouded them. But what was this vow? What oath had bound them to this existence, leaving them as a vessel for vengeance alone? All they knew was the chill touch of unending night and the taste of ashes on their lips. The figure had learned to find comfort in solitude, for companionship meant vulnerability, and vulnerability meant weakness. In their world, strength was the only virtue in survival. They stood at the edge of the dying world, watching as twilight swallowed the remnants of hope. All they had was a mission buried deep within the silence, sworn to uphold even as the darkness threatened to consume them. But who were they, and what force guided one so bound to the darkness, yet untouched by its corruption? They had been cloaked in shadow since before they could remember. The soft caress of a mother's hand, the warmth of a hearth. The world they inhabited wasn't one of light and warmth, but of perpetual dusk and fading embers. Their presence was as unsettling as a grave in a graveyard. As they moved through the skeletal remains of buildings, their gaze would linger on the faded remnants of murals, ghostly images of laughter and life frozen in time. One day, as they stood at the precipice of despair, contemplating the abyss that yawned before them, a sound broke the silence. From the depths of their being, a voice arose, ancient and resonant, resonating with the forgotten chords of their soul. Driven by an unseen force, the figure began their journey. The deeper they ventured into the heart of the dying world, the more the landscape shifted, morphing from desolate wastelands into pockets of untamed wilderness. Yet amidst this resurgence of life, a chilling sight awaited the figure. As they approached, fragments of echoes brushed against their senses, whispers of laughter, the murmur of conversations, the gentle strum of a forgotten tune. Within the tomb, mouldering documents lay scattered, their pages brittle and worn, bearing witness to a forgotten history. Amongst them, one name, one face seemed to burn brighter than the rest, a beacon amidst the ruins, calling out to the silent soul. With each passing moment, the tomb came alive, not with the shuffling of restless souls, but with the resurgence of life itself. Upon their shoulders rested the mantle of remembrance, upon their heart, the echoes of laughter, and in their eyes, the flicker of a rekindled flame. But who was this enigmatic figure cloaked in shadow and silence? What drove them to dedicate their existence to the solemn duty of remembrance? Gone was the utter stillness that had clung to them like a shroud. Now there was a new sound, a quiet strength in their steps,